Hi everybody, welcome along to Trackside's Weigh In. Butch and George Simon with us tonight. Paul is away. He's attending the funeral of Hayden Allen, of course. He was training in partnership with John Sargent up until John decided to move to Sydney on a permanent basis. And Butch, he was a quiet but popular young man, and it was a shock to us all, wasn't it? Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, real shock, of course. Celebrated his 40th birthday and then passed away, so far too early. And we're going to touch on a couple of the highlights from Hayden with his time with John Sargent later in the show. But thoughts to his family and friends on what will have been a very, very tough day.
Indeed, and we're just hearing through that Mario Sullivan passed away this morning as well, so yet another loss to the industry.
Absolutely. Look, the matriarch of a family that's so ingrained in New Zealand racing, and gee, they've had a tough time of it, that family, for the last 12 months or so, and thoughts to all concerned there.
Yeah, absolutely. Our sincere condolences to everybody concerned, family and friends. George, nice to have you with us tonight, and on a positive note, some really good racing at headquarters on Saturday. We've got a new Derby favourite. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening to you too, Daryl. Yeah, scraping the bottom of the barrel, asking me to come along here tonight. Twiggy, unfortunately, couldn't be here today, so I don't think I've got the physical attributes to be ever referred to as a twig, but maybe a stump, and possibly the black stump for tonight's purposes, Daryl. But yeah, look, it was fantastic day of racing on Saturday. New Derby favourite, as you say, for the TV3 New Zealand Derby in Mongolian Khan, and he was pretty impressive on Saturday as well. But there's some nice runs in behind him. Yep,
and we look forward to talking about those throughout the course of this hour. Now, if you'd like to get in contact with us, you can via social media. We're on facebook.com/weighinshow, at weighinshow on Twitter, and you can email us as well, weighin@nzracingboard.co.nz. All right, let's have a look and see what's coming up.
Coming up on tonight's show, we're joined by Irish import Lee McGorrian, who had his best day in the saddle on Saturday, booting home 3 winners.
Rising Romance is descending on the scene. Sports Illustrated, Rising Romance out wide from Saki Soldier. Sports Illustrated and Rising Romance, they hit it. Oh, I don't know.
The team will review all the action from Ellerslie as the complexion of the derby changed once again.
Go into the line, Mongolian Khan's in front. Mongolian Khan will win it.
But first up tonight, we're joined in studio by Allan Sharrock, who celebrated the win of Kawi in the Group 3 Taranaki Stakes.
Here comes Kawi out in the centre of the track now. The short price favourites reined up. Capone out wider. Redeal, like your pins. It's Kawi in front, and it's a local victory in the Hooker Pacific Taranaki Cup.
He was good, all right, wasn't he, Kawi? And Alan's with us. Alan, thanks for coming up. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. Yeah, it was a good day, and yeah, we enjoyed it.
He did it relatively easily in the end, didn't he?
Yeah, he's just starting to worry me a wee bit with his barrier manners, but I think that stems back to the Foxton trials about 3 starts ago. They didn't open on him, and he charged the barrier, and he's a clever horse, and I think these antics relate back to that. But he's sort of got a form of arrogance about him. He likes to give him a start and then just lap them. So he's a nice horse.
He's still got just that little bit to learn though, doesn't he, to be the consummate professional?
Yeah, that's what brother Bruce and a few of the boys were going to have a bet on Saturday. I said, well, the only thing that'll beat Kawi is Kawi. And he did his best to beat himself again here too.
Yeah, up to 1800 on Saturday, Al. Look, the start before the mile at Trentham. That's not going to stop him distance-wise either. You just get the impression that as he continues to mature and get better, he's going to go a bit further.
Oh, definitely, Butch. You know, he's out of a Voltrad mare, which may have his best form, sort of 2002-1. I wouldn't sort of push him to a mile and a half, even though he looks that way. But, yeah, he's that anniversary win that George saw, when he's going sideways and the rest are going forwards and he can still beat them, it's pretty telling.
The start before that too at Ellerslie, he got me that day when he finished 4th. But he was entitled to run last that day. He was so far behind them, he didn't really handle that way around. But the last bit of that race, he really flashed home, and he showed the quality that you've always said he's had.
Yeah, that day he ran a 33.5 sectional with 58 or 59 on his back, and only good horses can do that. But yeah, he's a super talent, and he's by the right horse.
Yeah, he is by Savabeel, isn't he? They're just flying at the moment. Al, what do we do next?
Mate, I know you're trying to entice me to Ellerslie, but I just think it's 1 year too early to bash heads just yet. It may be the Awapuni Gold Cup and then the paddock. But Twiggy mentioned a race that I'd love to run in the Cox Plate next year. So if he could win one of the first 2 races at Hastings, we could look at something like that.
Just watching that replay again too, Al, it looked to me, I don't know what your impressions were, but over the last 150 metres or so, it looked as if he was kind of halfway pulling up, or just saying, look, I'm going to win this, let's pose for the photo.
Yeah, he's a pretty boy, but he's never ever won a race by a margin. It's almost like he's toying with them. And you know, some of those runs at Trentham, he's got up by head, half head, and it is like he's waiting for them. So he could be a special horse.
How early in the piece did you know he was this good?
Oh, probably his first 2 jump outs. Yeah, they run sectionals at the track, Daryl, and they're the horses you put the tick by.
He was a tragedy bashed on debut, wasn't he, from memory on the home track, and that was a Friday rolling into the Saturday Counties Cup day. But he came out at his next one and proved that to be the case. Yeah,
well, he beat Recite by about 2.5 lengths, second up as a maiden, and that's when people sort of thought he could be a Group 1 horse.
Okay, you mentioned the Cox Plate, and you'll spell him, and then go through Hastings towards Melbourne? Is that kind of the long-term plan?
Yeah, I don't think you can run in the last of the Triple Crown and win the Cox Plate. That's my own opinion. I'd be looking to try and consummate a start with one of the first 2 races, and then maybe go over for one before the Cox Plate. But he's got a lot of water to go under the bridge yet, but you've got to have a plan.
Special win on Saturday too, Hometown Cup, Al, something that your dear father Bob wasn't able to do, and I know you dedicated that win to him. That must have been cool.
Yeah, it was. It was only a Group 3 race, but a hell of a lot of pressure with all the local goons and boys all there. But you know, I watched it outside, but I've never heard the stand erupt when he made his run. So that was really cool.
And Kawi was there.
Yeah, the guy he was named after was a golfing buddy of Dad's, a little married gentleman from Nelson, and he flew up to watch it. So that was really neat. He was so proud.
He might have to go around with you now.
No, he doesn't have a share in it, but he's trying to be the voluntary mascot, I think.
He'd be keen to go to Melbourne, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think he's getting his passport all done.
Right, let's talk about Don't Gloat, who I guess to some degree is living in the shadow of Kawi a little bit, but gee, he's really starting to stamp his mark on the Northern and Central District sprinting ranks. His win on Saturday, real good.
Yeah, I always rated the horse. I got Leith down to ride him first up. We put the stake up and I thought we'd get rid of him to Hong Kong, but no one came for him. Then he had about 3 runs where I thought he should be winning them, and he didn't. And I turned him out, and about 2 weeks later his leg came up like a football and he broke a bone in the back of his knee, and the vet said we wouldn't get him back. I thought it was doom and gloom, but we gave him 6 months out and he's come back and won 4 out of 5.
And I think he was a bit unlucky in the other one at Awapuni too, just got tightened up a bit on the corner, so
yeah.
Whether he would have won that day, I don't know. But
yeah, that was a bit, the last 2 runs he's had to push for runs, and did it admirably at Te Rapa and on Saturday, but I don't know what happened at Palmy.
He's probably taken him into open company now, has it, or would you get one more in 85 with him?
I tried the ratings this morning, Butch. I would think he'd just about bust his rating, but I'd love to see him on the minimum in a nice mile. I don't think he's tractable enough to have a go at the Easter just yet, but I may just cushion him for 3 weeks and have a look at a $50,000 mile on the CD.
Okay, I wanted to talk about the success you've had with apprentices, how you've developed and taught some of our country's best apprentices, and obviously Matt Cameron's one that's going, you know, hammer and tongs here in New Zealand at the moment, and of course Michael Walker, who's absolutely flying in Melbourne. You must be awfully proud.
Yeah, I am actually, because one's leading the premiership here, and I think Michael, I talked to him yesterday, he's leading one of the 2 premierships in Australia, in Melbourne. So it'd be great if they could both win the premierships this year. It'd be something to gloat about.
Yeah, don't gloat though. Good old-fashioned hard work. Al, you run a system with them where it's very important that they put in the stable, but they get the rewards as well, don't they?
Yeah, they do, but I've always stamped on them. You've got to be accountable for the man that's paying $2,500 a month. And you can't walk away saying that I didn't do my best or make faux pas. Because people pay a lot of money and the horses are worth a lot of money. And, you know, the odd time I've threatened to let Michael walk home from a fair way from home on the back of a bad ride. So, that's just the way we do it, and hard but fair, I think.
Yeah. You certainly do, obviously do something right for them, because when they go finish their time and they hit the top level ranks of riders, they're pretty the complete package, aren't they?
Yeah, a couple of them, or Michael and Matt, they wobbled for a bit when they come out of their time, but I think a lot of kids do because they got a lot of money, a lot of success, and I'm going to kill the world. But once they get back on track, as you see, they're very good riders, you know.
Probably two different examples as well, whereas Michael was born to do it. He like from that very first time, it just came naturally to him. Whereas Matthew was more of a talented sportsman and from a sporting family that probably had to learn the riding a bit more. Would that be fair?
Yeah, Michael always had the flair, and George knows that. That's a Maori thing. That comes naturally with singing, guitars, and a lot of that. But Matt had ability and worked hard at it, and I'm really proud of Matt because he's. I don't think there's many stronger riders than Matt Cameron.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't get outfinished very often, does he?
No, mate.
Yeah, we've seen that repeatedly, haven't we, with Matt? And you say they hit the speed wobbles in their career, but they've been big enough to bounce back and to show exactly what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, and Matt's a humble fella, and he's just a good bloke, whereas see Michael last week got a $1,000 fine for looking at an infield screen.
Yeah, looking at himself.
Talked to him
looking
yesterday.
at himself on the infield screen.
That's right. You know, and that's probably the lair in the boy, but natural ability was always super.
So you still keep in touch with these
Yeah,
riders?
I talked to Michael on the phone yesterday and told him, I nearly texted him the day I saw it. I thought, what is he doing? But he got it done, and I think he put his hand up and copped a $1,000 fine. So
he's flying with David Hayes, isn't he? They seem to form a great relationship at the moment, and as we well know, when Michael's happy and going well, things are great.
Yeah, that's right. He's a confidence rider, and David Hayes, we know how good a trainer he is, and he will be the leading trainer in Victoria. And I said to Michael, this could be your last chance. You know, we always said that it'd be nice when we both end our careers to sit on a balcony and have a beer and a laugh. Well, I've got my money, he's still got to accrue the bit that he's lost, so we might get there, you know.
The bold one, where's he at?
I want to jump out this morning. I missed it, but all accounts he jumped out very, very well. So here's your chance to run on Saturday in an 85 1200. Personally, I think he's a year away. It's difficult when you've got a stallion prospect. You can't afford to race them too often and run value off them. So a little bit of pressure goes with that horse and a bit of responsibility, you know.
He's obviously shown you so much at home because he's a horse that you're happy to say is very, very, very good, and that's not something you say lightly.
No, that's right. I've been lucky to have him and Kawi and the old girl I do finish. So those horses that can run those sectionals, you've got to plan races for them and you get the job done. And we're all looking for those horses. Murray and Pikey seem to have a hell of a lot of them. But I'm trying to get a little crew too, you know. But yeah, to get horses with a bit of breeding, and as time goes on, we're getting those, and that's where it starts.
All right, let's have a look at a couple of other races from Taranaki on the weekend. The Group 3 Phoenix Park 2-year-old, and here we saw Magic Dancer Butch. First run in Stakes Company and handled it with aplomb. Yeah,
she did. Look, late entry into the race when the field came up pretty average, to be honest. Hallelujah, the stablemate, set the pace. She's travelled beautifully in the run, and look, she had this parcelled up a long way from home. She's clearly the best horse in this race.
She's come a long way. I mean, her first win was on a heavy track at Wairau, so she's really come along nicely, hasn't she?
It would have been Tahira Nikau, I think, or they haven't raced yet, but yeah, it was. And look, she was just better than them on that occasion, but she's on top of the ground. Yep, she's a pretty good filly, I think. Time's going to be a friend to her, listening to Deb Rogerson as well. She mightn't have much more of a prep, and she's going to come back and be a pretty talented 3-year-old.
Third horse won a nice race. The second horse, even though they're a long way behind the winner, I thought the third horse, Girls Are Back in Town, was running on nicely, and I think we'll appreciate a cut on the track as well.
Yeah, it came from a fair way back. It was Wairarapa to Tahira Nikau. Stablemate Cosmic Cube, real good. First up over 1100.
Yeah, he's a really smart horse. We've known for a long time that, but he's obviously had a few tricks, and he's a real handful to load up. Look, it took him a long time on Saturday to get him loaded again, and yeah, he was pretty impressive in disposing of what wasn't a bad field, I didn't think. Shelford didn't have a lot of luck, but wouldn't have made much difference probably. The winner was too good in the finish.
Now won 6 of 15. He's always looked good though, hasn't he, George?
Yeah, he has. He has those issues around at the start too, and I think they persevered with him on Saturday, but he does test their patience on occasions. But it's either get him in or face Graham Rogerson. I know which one I'd be doing.
It's interesting talking about that because he had a bad experience at Te Rapa one day, didn't he? And I'm picking, he's thinking about it. And Allan alluded to it before with Kawi, that he's remembering back to the trials. So we all talk about the race days when the gates don't open, but it goes further than that. It goes to maybe jump outs, it goes to trials where these horses can have bad experiences. And hard to come back from that, Al.
Yeah, it is. And I was talking to, funny you say that, Dick Bothwell and Jelly Williams on Saturday, and they're a very important, intricate part of our industry, those boys behind the barriers. Like if they can't start them, you got nothing, and the club lose money. So those boys have got to be looked after. It's not an easy job either, I can tell you.
No, and you see some of them get hurt, and there was one yesterday, I think I was watching a race from Singapore last night, one guy got badly kicked, and it's a dangerous job around at the gates.
Back in the day, many, many years ago, I did it once. Never got asked back again. Never got asked back again, but they do a great job. Yeah. And yeah, we're lucky in New Zealand, we've got some of the best around the world, but they've really put their lives on the line, you know, and dealing with horses that are a little bit fractious around at the start.
All right, a couple of really handy 3-year-old performances on the weekend there at Pukakura as well. Chenille, first of all, this was really good, winning the special conditions maiden over the 1800 metres, and gee, this was in the bag, a long way from home.
Yeah, she's going to love getting up to the Oaks trip. She's Chintz's half-sister, and very strong to the line, good on the backup as well, so that was a 9-day backup, which now Pikey knows she can cope with, and she'll run Sunline Vars into the New Zealand Oaks.
And this was the Oaks Prelude, and in the blue colours, the Old Floozy withstood the late challenge of Savaria down the outside to take out that race, and given the amount of ground that Savaria made up in the concluding stages, she's probably the one to take out of the race.
Yeah, I think that form will hold up okay from an Oaks perspective. They'll be there and thereabouts, but if you had to have one of them, I'd have Savaria, yep.
All right, let's go to the racing desk and link in with Steve Hunt. And Steve, good evening. First of all, hits and misses of the last week.
You're not too many, DA, but I can tell you it's 6 in a row for the bookie beater, with Kawi winning the local cup there, the Taranaki Cup. So I suggest the punters watch out just prior to midday on Saturday for our bookie beater for going for 7 in a row on there. But initially, we'll look at the Oaks, the market, the futures market, and it has changed in the last 7 days from those two horses we've just seen on footage. Chanel, who was $14 prior to its win in the special conditions 1800 metre event on Saturday, now as short as $7 in that third line of betting, in behind Vavasaur and Savoia. Chanel, yeah, definitely agree with Butch, suggesting the 2-4 will be lovely for this individual, the 3-year-old filly. And also just down there, 114, number selection 114, the Old Floozy, winning on the same day, was as high as $41 when it failed two starts back, but now as short as $14 of a horse like Stolen Dance. So they're the two big movers in this year's Oaks, which is run at the back end of March.
Good as gold, Steve. We'll catch up with you a little later in the program. Yeah, the Old Floozy was good. I mean, that was her first run for a number of weeks, so she'll only improve.
She's another one that's had tricks around at the barrier, and they managed to get her in and got the job done on Saturday. You'd wonder whether you might question mark Vavasaur from an Oaks perspective. I think it's been well documented that she's heading towards the TV3 New Zealand Derby and then Sydney. So I suppose everyone knows that, or most people know that.
Should they put like a question mark on the market?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe you put a question mark against her. But if you're going to wade in and back something 3 or 4 weeks out at $4, you probably would have done your homework to know that she might not be going there.
All right, Alan, thanks very much for coming in. Congratulations once again with the success with Kawi, and obviously we'll be watching him and Don't Gloat and the rest of the team with interest over the next few months.
Thanks, Daryl.
All right, appreciate you coming in. Allan Sharrock with us here on Weigh In. We're back with more.